Confused about New Jersey's property tax relief programs? We'll provide some clarity. This is the Issues Watch podcast. Hi, I'm Jeff Kazerman, Vice President of Government Relations at the New Jersey Society of CPAs, and welcome to the Issues Watch podcast. As confusing as driving on New Jersey's congested roads can be, I don't think it comes close to the confusion caused by New Jersey's various property tax relief programs. There are so many of them, they are changing all the time, and applying can be so baffling that some people just give up. With us today to help make some sense out of this is Ellen Steinberg. She's a tax attorney in Union, New Jersey, who's been helping New Jerseyans untangle this mess for years. In addition to her work as a tax attorney, she's also the chair of the New Jersey Senior Council. Welcome, Ellen.
Hi, Jeff. Thanks for having me here today.
I'm so happy to have you here today. I know you've been explaining these programs to groups across the state for years and are quite the expert. So let's try to make a complicated task as simple as possible. First of all, how much property tax relief is available in New Jersey and who is eligible?
Well, in this year's budget, the fiscal year 24, there's $3.1 billion in property tax relief. But let me clarify that a little bit. 40 million are in property tax credit programs. The lion's share, $2.2 billion, is in property tax reimbursement programs. In other words, people have already paid this money. And another 780 million is the reduction of state income tax collections. And most of your listeners will know about this because this is New Jersey state income tax. This is the deduction for property taxes up to $15,000 that you have on the state income tax. And just about everybody in the state of New Jersey is available for some of these programs. Some one, some two. Right now, we're looking at 5 programs that the state of New Jersey currently has.
Okay, so now can you tell us about the various programs?
Well, New Jersey currently has 5 programs. Anchor, which was formerly the Homestead Rebate Program. Senior Freeze. There's a Veterans Credit. There's a Senior Citizen Annual Tax Deduction. And then there's the New Jersey State Income Tax. And these 5 programs provide income relief, property tax benefits for homeowners or renters. But each program is different, and not every one is for renters. There's different applications for each one, different filing deadlines for each one, different eligibility for each one, and even things like income, it's a different test. Anchor has a different test than Senior Freeze.
So can you tell us, let's look at these one by one, starting with the bigger ones. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong again, that Anchor is sending back the most money to New Jersey taxpayers. Can you just give us a broad outline of some of the things, deadlines and maximum income and that sort of stuff?
Sure thing, Jeff. The Anchor program is giving back $2 billion to homeowners and renters. And everybody should be aware of this because these checks are going out now. People are currently getting checks in the mail this October for the 2020 Anchor program. Now, the reason there's a little bit of confusion on this is back in May of this past year, people also got a check for an Anchor payment, but that was for 2019. the legislature decided to up the payment mailing, and they decided to send it out in October. So what is Anchor? Anchor is formerly the homestead benefit program, which used to be a tax credit on your property tax bill. But now it's a rebate check. Get it as a check or a direct deposit. But it's still 3 years behind. So people are getting reimbursed in 2023 for taxes they paid in 2020. And as I said before, it's available to both homeowners and renters. So what can your clients get? If they owned a home on October 1st, 2020, and their 2020 New Jersey gross income was under $150,000, they're going to be getting $1,500. Now that income test is line 29 of the 2020 New Jersey state income tax form, which is the 1040, which, as most of you know, doesn't include Social Security, doesn't include pensions, and a number of other benefits. If their gross income was between $150,000 and $250,000, they get $1,000. If they rented on October 1st and their New Jersey gross income was under $150,000, they get $450. Married and single, same amount. There are some additional requirements for renters, like having your name on the lease, paying rent, separate kitchen and bathroom. You may want to look at the show notes. There's all the specific details, and there's also the websites and the phone numbers on this.
Right, which is important to refer to because there's a lot there and it can be very confusing. But I'm sorry, go ahead.
There's no age limit on Anchor. Eligibility is a look back on 2020, so you don't have to be a current New Jersey resident to get an Anchor benefit. And a state can get one too. So you can look at people who've moved. We're sending Anchor rebates out of the state. Again, it's a look back to 2020, and there's a bonus this year. Anyone who is over 65 years old, as of 2020, they get an additional $250. So homeowners are going to get either $1,250 or $1,750 if they're over 65, and renters are going to get $700. So,
right,
how do you apply? Well, in August, these Anchor confirmation letters went out to people who applied for Anchor in 2019. They said, you don't have to do anything. We're just going to send you the money back the same way if nothing's changed. In September, these went out, a mailer went out to almost all the remaining homeowners and a lot of renters that had an ID and PIN number. And it said, you may be eligible, come apply. And you could apply online or you can apply by phone. And if you didn't get either of these, you can still go online and apply, or you can also get a paper application. And in the case of if there's a death or a change in status, you're going to need that. The filing deadline for Anchor for the 2020 Anchor payment is December 29th, 2023.
Yeah, I got a nice convenient letter a few months ago, or I don't know, maybe a few weeks ago from the state saying, you don't need to do anything. You're automatically eligible. So
Well, the,
I like that. Okay, so we've got the basics around the Anchor program. Now let's look at the next one, which I believe is the second biggest. And again, you can correct me if I'm wrong. And that's the senior freeze, which is what? Worth, how much does that save taxpayers? Like 700 million? Does that sound about right?
Actually, the senior freeze is a reimbursement program. And
Right.
it's about 190 million in the actual budget. People who are in senior freeze for their first year will get about $200 back. People
Okay.
who've been in the program for a number of years could get back 2,000,
Wow.
3,000, 5,000. Program's been around since 1997. People don't
Okay.
people don't realize that.
And can you get, can I, let's say I'm 68, can I get my, anchor payment of 1,500 and, get this credit or however it works?
Absolutely. And that's where the confusion is.
Yes,
There's
yes.
5 different programs, 5 different applications, 5 different filing deadlines. And there are a lot of people that will qualify for 2 of the 5 programs, 3 of the 5 programs. There are some people that qualify for 4 of these programs, and you have to
Wow.
apply for each one separately.
Whoa.
So,
That's a lot.
and
Uh,
the accountants who are listening, the CPAs who are listening, you're supposed to know all of this.
Sometimes they call me looking for the answer, and I have to find somebody who really does know the answer. So going back to the senior freeze, which is actually a smaller program regarding the total dollars it saves seniors than I thought, it's still significant. Um, Give us the general outlines of how that works.
Sure thing. Steve, most of your listeners or viewers will know the Blue Book. It's the PTR form. It's for homeowners only. So this program is not for renters. So what they get with Senior Freeze, they get a partial reimbursement from their past year's property tax. So they get some of that money back. It's a check for the difference between the property taxes they paid last year
Okay.
and the property taxes they paid in their base year. And the base year is the first year they meet the eligibility requirements. And that's age, residency, ownership, payment of property tax, and income. And by the way, income for the purpose of Senior Freeze is a different test than anchor.
Mm.
So if 2022 is the first year someone's applying for this, they must be 65 years or older as of December 31st, 2021, lived in New Jersey since December 31st, 2011.
Ooh.
They must have owned and lived in their home since December 31st, 2018, and still owned and lived in their home on December 31st, 2022. They must have paid their property taxes in 21 and 22, and their 2022 income must be less than 99,735, and in 2021 has to be less than 94,178. And these reason they're kind of odd numbers is they represent a cost of living adjustment. And as
Okay. Yep.
And as I said, Senior Freeze uses a different income test.
Wow.
For the purpose of Senior Freeze, you include Social Security, you include pensions, you include IRA distributions. It's a 2-page form in the middle, and you have an inheritance, you hit the lottery. That's all included in Senior Freeze.
So actually, the longer you're in this program, the longer you live, the more you make out because the base year is further in the past, right?
Right. So, for example, you're applying for the 2022 Senior Freeze this year as a first-time filer. Your base year is the first year you meet eligibility. So that's going to be 2021. And your Senior Freeze check is the difference between the property taxes they paid in 2022 and the property taxes they paid in their base year 2021. And as you said, that base year is when their property taxes get frozen. So as property taxes go up, as they tend to do every year, in 2023, they get the difference between 23 and 21. They apply in 2024, they get the difference between 24 and 2021. So that number can really be significant. Real quickly, the way to apply, it's a PTR1 form. The application is 4 pages long, and you also need to certify that you've paid 21 and 22 property taxes. And
Right.
there's a Form 1A that has to be filled out by the tax collector's office, and they'll also need proof of age for first-time filers. If you've already filed before, you would have received what's called a PTR2. It's also a blue book, but it has all your information pre-printed. The deadline for this is October 31st.
Well, it's not too far from now.
So it's coming up. One last note on senior freeze. There are changes that they're talking about in the future for senior freeze. They're talking about increasing the income for 2022 to 150,000. It's currently 99,000 and change.
That's a big jump.
And also changing the residency from 10 years down to 3 years. So that will also make a significant difference.
So can you tell us, there's 3 other programs that are currently in effect. There's less money, that these programs aren't as big as the first 2 we discussed, I believe. Can you tell us a little something about each one?
Sure thing. Unlike the first 2 programs, which were both look-back programs and reimbursement programs, the next 2 programs are prospective. So you apply for them now, and you get the tax relief in the following year. And they're done as a property tax credit. These are the veterans credit and the senior citizen annual tax deduction.
Which you can get that deduction and get the senior freeze, correct? And the anchor.
Listen, I have someone I know, he gets the veterans credit, he gets senior freeze, he gets anchor. In fact, he doesn't pay any property taxes at all, but we won't go there.
I wanna be him.
Regarding the veterans credit, it's a $250 property tax credit for veterans and their surviving spouses. And there's also a 100% exemption of property taxes for those who are 100% disabled. And the qualifying for this, you only have to qualify once for this. It's not like anchor and senior freeze where you have to apply every year. Just once. For the veterans credit, you just have to be living in New Jersey, living in your home on October 1st, 2023, and a legal resident, no income test, and you have to be honorably discharged. And for the 100% exemption, you need proof that you are 100% permanently disabled from a service-connected disability. And there are wonderful veterans groups for any of the listeners out there that will help you get your honorable discharge forms, which are called DD-214s, or help you apply for it. And you have to apply for this at the municipal office, the local tax assessor, because remember, this is a property tax credit. So you have to go to the local tax office, fill out the form, they'll approve it, and then they'll change your tax record and they'll reduce your property taxes. One of the other credits, the prospective, is the senior citizen annual deduction. This is $250 for seniors. And there are age requirements. You have to be 65 or older as of this year. And again, it's prospective. You apply this year and you get the credit on your property taxes next year, but it's for low-income seniors. So you can't make more than $10,000 a year. But it doesn't include Social Security. It's either Social Security or pensions. So, but it's a very low bar, but it's out there, and there are people that are getting money for that.
Yeah, I never even heard of that one. So what's the fifth one?
The fifth one is an easy one because all your listeners know about this. This is the New Jersey state income tax deduction. And this is the one that's $780 million out of the budget. We give a lot of property tax, quote unquote, relief. This is the money. It's a deduction on your taxable income. And for homeowners, you get to deduct property taxes of $15,000. And for tenants, you get a deduction of 18% of the rent you paid during the year. So these are
pretty good
tax deductions. If you don't fit either of these, you can also get a tax credit of $50. No income limit, and obviously renters and homeowners. And this is available when you file your 1040, your New Jersey state 1040 income tax. It's line 40 for renters and line 41 on the 1040. And it's worksheet number H. And if you don't fill out your tax form, you can still apply for that $50 credit by filing a 2023 New Jersey 1040 HW.
Something that has caused more confusion this year, layered on top of the 5 programs you just discussed, was the passage of a new property tax relief program, which I believe, if it ever gets up and running completely, will be passing out billions every year. And that program is called Stay New Jersey. But as I said, the reality is that it hasn't gone into effect or won't go into effect for a number of years. So can you tell us about just what is Stay New Jersey?
The Stay NJ is supposed to be a property tax credit for half of your prior property taxes, up to $6,500. And the proposed start date is 2026. People who would get it, 65 years old, no residency requirement.
Wow.
And New Jersey gross income of less than, wait for it, 500,000, $500,000. Now think of that. That's retirement income of $500,000. Now I'm speaking to CPAs, and they understand that you probably have a net worth of about $10 million to generate $500,000 worth of annual income. In order for New Jersey to pay this Stay NJ in 2026, they put a little caveat in there. The New Jersey state budget must first fund constitutionally mandated school funding.
Oh, yeah.
Full pension contribution, okay, that's up there, and budget surplus every year of, ready, 12%, which this year would have been about $5 billion. And this is the first year it ever happened that we ever had all that money.
Well, this is not going to be happening. And it sounds like an awful lot of hurdles to jump. And correct me if I'm wrong again, but I think there's for the average layperson, they think that, okay, a law was passed, this year creating Stay New Jersey. So it has to happen. But even putting aside all the obstacles you just mentioned and all the caveats, legislature could decide the year it's supposed to go into effect, we're changing the law, right? Which is something, happens all the time. So we're really facing a lot of obstacles here, aren't we? Or things that could go wrong, and people shouldn't be counting on this money.
Not
Do you agree?
You're absolutely right, Jeff. There is the biggest problem with this program is there's no certainty. I mean, think of the person out there. They're paying $10,000 in property taxes in 1 year. All of a sudden, they get half of it paid for. So their property tax bill is $5,000. And then down the road, a year later, 2 years later, now they get stuck paying $10,000
Right.
because they pulled it.
Yes. Yes.
The,
That's a perennial problem here.
the other thing, the other thing is it's helping people who have high incomes. It's skewed to people who are making a lot of money. And it's also skewed to people who have just moved into New Jersey. You can just be making $500,000, move from New York to New Jersey, buy a house, and get a $6,500 property tax credit. And you haven't even been in New Jersey for any length of time, and you're making all this money. And the bigger problem is people who are getting this, there's also a little footnote in the statute that says, if you get stay NJ, you don't get anchor and senior freeze. So they take away your anchor and they take away your senior freeze. So we don't give you everything if it's out to being more than half, because we don't want to give you more than half. So you gotta really read the fine print on this and kind of scratch your head and say, okay.
Where can people go, putting aside the show notes, to find out more? Like, is your group having any upcoming seminars on this? Are there other groups that do that?
Well, we just did one last Monday over here in Union, and we've taken the show. We have a PowerPoint presentation which goes through the various programs. We've done that for a number of the senior groups, because again, our focus has been on older adults who are retired, who really need this income. The New Jersey Division of Taxation website is actually a decent website. The show notes have all the website information. They can go to that. They can also check on benefit status on the website as well. There's a New Jersey State Senior Freeze Hotline. There's a New Jersey State Anchor Hotline. But again, let me go back over those dates again. October 31st, 2023 is the deadline for Senior Freeze. December 29th, 2023, deadline for Anchor. And they really should get in their veterans credit and their senior annual deduction by the end of this year for a property tax credit next year. And that they need to go to the local municipality. And a lot of your local tax collectors are also very, very helpful. And we know that the accountants are, and your CPA group is very, very knowledgeable.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Thank you again for joining us today, Ellen. I'm sure our listeners found this informative. I certainly know I did. Who knows, maybe I'll collect more money than I thought I was entitled to. So again, thank you for joining us, Ellen.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening and watching today. For more information about the property tax relief programs that we just discussed, download the document in the show notes. And for more information about the New Jersey Senior Council, visit njseniorcouncil.com.